She's stressing. I'm like, Julie, stop stressing.
So we may be live. I never time these things perfectly, but let's see. My phone will notify me usually when I go live. All right, I'm just going to start talking as if we're live because we probably are live. Welcome to episode 67 of Kowalski Analysis, a podcast designed to help you navigate the weight and become the best version of yourself. I'm your host, Rob Kowalski, and this is my friend, fairly new friend, Chris Shepard from Oklahoma City. And we're going to be talking to him about how it's going, starting his chapter there in Oklahoma City, and just what it's been like and what he was attracted to with City Fam. So how you doing, Chris?
What's up, brother? How you been?
Really good.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, it looks like Cassandra's coming in.
Maybe.
Yep. So actually, this would be a good time for me to go ahead and announce my sponsors while she's coming in. Before we get started into the conversation, I just want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Micah Hughes. Micah is a longtime friend, and he actually does real estate. So I'm just going to share my screen real quick so you guys can see his logo. Here we go. Share screen. So yeah, Micah does real estate. He helps people get a budget together and a financial plan so they can afford to buy a home, or if they're interested in selling a home, he can help with that. And he also helps people that just want to invest in real estate and have passive income. So if you want some help in that area, give Micah a call. You can mention my name. He will take great care of you. And my other sponsor is Advisors Mortgage. And Advisors Mortgage, they have a highly competitive pricing structure coupled with their state-of-the-art technology. They're second to none in their commitment to guiding you through the home buying or refinancing process. And you can reach out to Adrian White. He's actually a City Fam member here in Baltimore. He was at our New Year's Eve party just a few days ago. His number 610-999-3448. Or you can visit his website at awhite.advisorsmortgage.com. All right. Welcome, Cassandra.
Hi there, guys. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Is my screen freezing?
It is. It's kind of like patchy.
Oh my goodness. Give me a second. Let me refresh my internet. I'm not sure what it is.
It's all good. I'm actually going to go ahead and share the stream to I'm going to share it to the City Fam group, and then also to the Waiting Works community, because I'm sure some of the people in there would like to see it. So how was your New Year's Eve there in Oklahoma City, Chris?
It's pretty great. It was me and a few other friends from the group. I probably went a little hard, but it was great.
I went a little too hard myself, but New Year's is one of those nights it's hard not to. It's very easy to get caught up. So
once a year I can do it.
Looks like we have about 18 people on right now. That's a lot. Just on Facebook, more on YouTube. So, hey guys, if you can see and hear us okay, leave a comment below. Just say hello or hi or hey, or just greet us in some way, however you greet people. And then if it's your first time watching a live stream or one of these podcasts, let us know where you're watching from. We always like to know where our members are coming in from. But tonight we're going to be talking to a couple of our chapter leads. They started groups. They found City Fam through, well, I guess we're going to find out how you found City Fam. And they've started groups in their areas, and they're leading movements in Oklahoma City and Lancaster, in the parts of the world where they're living and they're responsible for, in all honesty, right?
Absolutely.
So we're going to be talking about that. So I'm really excited just to jump into the conversation, but let me go ahead quickly and just share this out. If guys, feel free to share this stream, because you never know who's out there that's either looking for community themselves, or maybe they would be interested in starting something themselves. I know for me, I would have died to find City Fam for the first, several years that I was trying to walk this narrow path. I was looking for something like this. So feel free to share this out. It might reach somebody that really needs it. So let's go ahead and quickly tell everybody I guess I already kind of told them who you are and where you're from. Cassandra, did I tell that she was from Lancaster yet? Did I say that?
I'm not sure, but I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Met Rob through his Facebook ads and connected over the summer, and just been exploring this whole avenue of how to connect, create a movement, rally up people for the better and the good of community, and inspire change, inspire just friendship where, you know, we can connect and do life together.
I love it. I love it. So how long have you been involved now? When did you start your group?
August.
Was it 2
Oh,
months
sorry.
ago?
Just a few weeks before Thanksgiving, I guess.
Awesome. And how many people are in your Facebook group right now?
Yeah, we're like 2 people away from 300. So
That is crazy. That's
yeah,
so,
it's really
I mean,
exciting.
what, just to put that in perspective, there's only 700 people in the City Fan Baltimore Facebook group. And we've been
Yeah.
around for, 7 years. So to have 300 people in 2 months, like that's saying something.
Well, I have to give a lot of credit to my, my side partner, Angie. She's really just was a great partner and just inviting a lot of people. So that really helped just get a lot of people in the group and get engagement. So
yeah, well, I love it. And then Chris, you're right behind her. Will you guys have like 260 some in your group?
I think 263 at last count.
Yeah, and that same amount of time. It was only been about 2 months, right?
Yeah, we started about the same time as Lancaster.
That's crazy. It's something supernatural going on for sure. Like that's not normal growth, so you guys are killing it. I can't wait to dive in. So I think what people will be most interested in just talking about is like what attracted you to City Fam? What was the void that was missing that this is helping to fill? So let's go ahead and have Cassandra answer that first.
Yeah, we just got an overwhelming response about like the idea of getting together, having community, meetups, and I think especially with singles and in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, dating apps just are not the thing of the day. To find good quality friendships and able to have real, genuine, authentic relationships, kind of friendship building from that foundation, and doing life. And so we just found like it's just an awesome place where people feel like they belong, having a good time and something to look forward to, especially on the weekends, and not spending alone and just feeling like they're just, living life and doing life alone, for sure.
So good. And really even like people to let down, like City Fam's kept me out of a lot of trouble because I had people that I knew I would let down. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm not perfect, but I would have made a lot worse decisions if I didn't have that. So even like just not only having like a full social calendar, but just, having people that believed in me and were like, kind of cheered me on and rooted for me and picked me up at times when I felt really low. But so you were at New Year's Eve, Cassandra. How's your ankle doing? How's your ankle? Did you hear me? Nope, we lost her sound. Can you hear me?
Yes. Moving something around. I think I pulled out my Yeti mic. Sorry.
That's okay.
I have to edit this for the.
Okay. Well, I'll come back to you. So let me direct the same question I asked Cassandra to you, Chris. So what was it that really kind of attracted you to the group? What was the void that was missing?
I think kind of to piggyback off what she said, it's just that, kind of that loneliness, finding that group of people that you can just mesh with and get involved with kind of, no expectations. It's kind of how it started, because you kind of get stuck in that routine of, I don't want to do, you get tired of doing the same old. Mm-hmm. And, at our age, finding those like-minded people, it's not always the easiest thing to do.
Yeah. It's really weird because I hear a lot of people talk about that. It's like a challenge to really make friends when we all need community. We all want people like good friends and people we can count on. But for some reason, there's it's not as easy as you would think it should be, and even with the volunteering, there's definitely a barrier to entry for that. I know I had wanted to kind of give back for years before I became a member of a church that was doing anything. And I just didn't really know how to get started. I was like, it's, like it's not really nearly as much fun to go out and just serve people by yourself. But when you're with a group of people that you just were like hanging out with the night before at a social event, then you go out and do, something like that. It really deepens the connection, and it's just a lot more enjoyable.
Well, I've noticed too. I mean, you really do. You kind of feed off each other.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of that high that you get from serving and just being around people.
Yeah. So let's talk about, what events have you all done so far? So what have you done so far in Oklahoma City? What events?
We had our first event was back in November, right before Thanksgiving, at a place called Chicken and Pickle, like a pickleball court type thing. It was our first one. I guess we had 20, 25 people, give or take, 24. Then we've had our service event on Christmas Eve. And then we had one other event. We had a couple small things in there too, where, people go out to have movies or go have dinner or have people have game nights. And then we have our next event scheduled for this Friday as a game night.
And you did a service event too, right? Did you mention that already?
Yeah. On Christmas Eve.
Okay. That's awesome. I mean, 24 people, it probably took us 6 months before we had 20 some people at an event, I'm sure. We started out in Baltimore doing these movie nights, and it was free. I would actually pay the guy like $50 to rent the upstairs of this building. Actually, it's the building that home will eventually be in. And we used to do like free popcorn, and we would just play a couple movies, and literally like 3 or 4 people would come out. It was like hardly anybody. And I was promoting it with everything I had, and I had a pretty big network, and I could still not get people to come out. It was like pulling teeth, but slowly it grew. So I always, encourage people, even if their growth is slow, like as long as you feel like you have peace, just stick with it. And, as long as you feel like that was what kept me going. Chris, you and I were just talking about it, where there was a lot of times where I didn't see any evidence of this thing working, but I just knew it felt like I was supposed to be here. So I just stuck with it. So how about you, Cassandra? What events have you done in Lancaster?
Yeah, so as soon as we opened up the group, it was right the weekend of Thanksgiving. And so I just did a little meet and greet on Saturday night. The people because I didn't really do a friend's Thanksgiving. I was like, we'll just gather. It was like 6 of us. We had a blast. Met up at a place where we could play pool and just have some games and have some dinner together. And then we did the next weekend. We had Rock Lit It. So we had about 20 plus people there. It was amazing. And a group of Baltimore people came up to join us. It was a real fun event. We pretty much hung up for, I don't know, 8 hours, and we just had a blast. And then I hosted a big Christmas Eve here. Christmas Eve. And we have a good 18 or more. And we had a big service at the church that we connected with. And it's such a fun event. And then you were there leading karaoke. So just having such fun together. And also we just had some of us, we have a clear connection with faith and who we are, and to share that with other people as well. So, but we're all inclusive. We want everybody to grow wherever they're at. Just faith and being the best version of themselves, if anything, to be a light. So and shine in their sphere of influence. So kind of that's some of those things. And we also partnered up with your Baltimore blessing bags, I guess I call it. And so we gave a bunch down in Baltimore. I had a big bag of them. I went hiking on a day down the city, and man, there was people left and right. It was given to, or finding them at the exits. Just people that are really in need, or could be homeless in a bad situation. So able to bless people. I got so many big thank yous from that. So so our partners here that are sponsoring too, with the partner up with Rob, a big part of that. So excited just to have an impact in an outreach.
So have you seen any? I know you guys are fairly new at this, and I've honestly seen a lot of people's lives change just in the context of community. It's actually kind of mind blowing, because it's like, somebody comes out. I use my best friend Rob growing up, Rob Weiderman, as an example, because it was so powerful. Where he had so me and him were best friends in high school. We were bad though. When we were together, we were really bad. And when we were, he was like the most phenomenal soccer player that you'd ever seen in your life. He was on the cover of the paper. He broke every record at the school. He had colleges looking at him. probably could have got a scholarship to anywhere. And when we were in the 12th grade, we took the librarian's credit card out of her purse and we went to the mall and we charged about $1,000 of stuff on it. And we got caught, we got arrested, and we got expelled. And after that, like, Rob, he started dealing drugs at some point. Him and I kind of lost track of each other. We kind of got separated like when we were about 19 or so. And he ended up getting arrested a bunch of times, and we reconnected like 15. It was probably like, he was probably almost 40. And when we kind of reconnected, and I took him to Epic Church a couple times. I was trying to befriend him, but I just started like business. And so I was busy, and he would like call me every day. I could tell he was like, he was low and he was wanting a friend. And I sometimes I would pick up, but he would call me like every day. And sometimes I wouldn't pick up. And then one day he just stopped calling me. And I went over to where he lived, because he had lived in like this kind of like crappy apartment in Brooklyn at the time. And he had a pregnant girlfriend, and he had not been around for his first kid. He was kind of like not there. And just seeing that version of him, like what happened, and it was something that I was part of, like the expulsion. And I was like, it really was a lot of regret that I had. One of the biggest regrets in my life was being part of that story. And so I went over to the house that he lived in, the apartment, and knocked on the door, and he didn't answer. And he didn't answer his phone. I left a note on the door, and I didn't hear from him again for about a year. And then he called me. He's like, I just got out of jail. He's like, I got locked up for a year. I was selling pills, and I got caught. He said, I got stabbed in jail, and he got one of his teeth knocked out. And I was like, I made up my mind in that moment. I'm like, I'm going to be there for this guy. I'm like, I don't care. And every time he called, I picked up, even if whatever I was doing, I stopped, pick up, talk to him. And I just started bringing him around City Fam events. And next thing I know, he like got his license. And then he joined the gym, and he lost a bunch of weight. And then his whole life changed. He's a completely different person. He met Jesus. He's involved at his church. He brings like rows of people. And it was the power of community. I helped a little. I did. I gave him that nudge, and I would remind him, I would be like, dude, I believe in you. But bringing him around the community was the thing, because he had a group of people that kind of embraced him. And, it wasn't all on me. Because that's a lot if you're trying to help even just one person can drain the life out of you. But if there's a community, a group of people, and you can bring them around, and the group kind of can do it together and share the load. And that's exactly what happened for Rob. And it was so awesome. Like it's probably one of the best things that God ever did for me was helping me redeem that story, rewrite that story. And I really attribute City Fam to a lot of that, the power of what did all that work in his life. Have you seen anybody's lives positively impacted? I know, again, it's only been a couple months, but have you seen any lives?
Yeah, there's people that's just come out and just, we actually got together, had a small group after Christmas Eve, and just we played some games, but people were just sitting at the table, and I felt like God wanted me to, have this thing. We believe God's a genius and he's amazing. So when I talk about him, he just loves to be part of our lives, my life especially. I don't know, I just invite him in. So yeah, and they were just sharing some hard stuff that they've gone through, and it just became like a healing conversation. And where they first time, sometimes, like they said, I never shared this with anybody. So that's where wholeness comes in community. You get to be the real genuine person and be around people that actually care about you. And that when something is shared, it's like, hey, healing can happen. Like it's that reflection. It's like, hey, you can get through this, and we're here for you. So I just feel like people are wanting to reason and rhyme to live their life better, because we're around good people, like-minded people that want to be better.
Yeah. Rising tide raises all ships, right?
Yeah.
How about you, Chris? Have you seen anything?
Like she just said, we've heard stories. It's really amazing how comfortable people are becoming so quickly.
Yeah.
They just kind of meet you within, an hour, 30 minutes or whatever. They're ready to, share their life story lots of times. So, and a lot of them too are just so happy that there's a group like this out there, because they've been looking for it for so long.
Yeah.
The amount of thank yous and, thanks for doing this. I'm like, yeah, what do you say? It's all God. It has nothing to do with me or or my better half, which isn't here tonight, the better half of the leadership team, Julie. So it's all God here.
I love it. So we got some people tuning in. Looks like Tony Gerasio's here, Misty Karakash, Carolyn Boker, who just was here for New Year's Eve, Claudine Barrett Batchelor, Christy Lee, Rena Drabant. I'm not sure if I pronounced that last name right. Carla May, Melissa Vance. She came to one of your events.
She sure did.
Christine Lewis, Alicia Sullivan, Casey Tompkins. She's fired up. She's in your group too, right? Oklahoma City.
Yes, she is.
So yeah, feel free to drop any questions if you want to in the chat. We'll try to address them. But really just kind of wanted to talk to Cassandra and Chris really about like their motivation for starting it. What is your hope for the group? What is your vision for your group? Where would you like to see it go?
You know, I think here for us, I don't think there is any ends to where it can go.
Yeah. I
think the amount of people that you see that are hurting or just broken or just want that community of people, it's not going to stop. You know, it's kind of like a never-ending cycle. So, you know, the hope is that we just continue to grow and reach people here in Oklahoma City, that metro area. You know, and even, I guess, big picture, some of these people may move somewhere else, you know, start a city fam wherever they move to. You know, there's just so many different avenues and paths that can be taken just from what's starting here.
Yeah, I love it. It's like a church without walls, man. You know, when you think about it, right? Like when I look at the book of Acts and I see the way those people lived, I'm like, that's what I want. Like I remember when I first became a Christian, I read that. I was like, wow, what a cool way to live, you know, like in community like that. And when I became a believer, I was like, not like that at all. I mean, church on Sunday, and it was like, for the most part, you didn't see them again until next Sunday. And I was like, where's a group of people that I could find just to like live this out with, you know, walk this thing out with. And I couldn't find it. And then, you know, I backslid after isolating for a long time inadvertently. And then when I rededicated, went through the exact same thing where I was just like renting movies by myself every night because there was just nothing to do. I mean, and I was very involved at my church. They just didn't have anything going on, you know, outside. I don't say anything. They just had very little going on for like, especially if you were single. So I really, you know, I think like, I do think there's a lot of singles out there, single believers, and even people that are just not believers. Maybe they're just like in the bars, you know, making decisions that they really know they don't want to make, but they're like, well, what else is there? What's the alternative? That's us. You know, now there is one.
I really feel like we're reaching people that maybe the church can't.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What about you, Cassandra?
Yeah, you're just talking about that lines, and we did a ugly Christmas sweater party at Funk's, and it was so much fun. And as they were coming in the door, and other people were coming in, I was just this group of people, one was dressed as Santa Claus, and I was waiting for another Santa Claus to come in, make sure all the people were in. And so three of them show up, and we just got to chat, and I'm like, hey, join us. We got more seats at our tables. And so three complete strangers that just loved the whole evening. It was just so much fun, and they got in the group. They wanted to come out again, you know, maybe do a bowling event or something that's coming up. But that's what we're all about, you know, just connecting wherever it may be. People are just drawn to the fun that we're having, and they were just great people as well. So I just feel like the vision of expansion of like just people meeting people, and you just never know what collaboration may happen. You know, just, it could be business ideas or opportunities. I was listening to someone else, you know, just because they were at the right place and the right people, this person got a job and a $5,000 bonus because they just connected with the right people. And so endless possibilities of just like, hey, you know, industries or businesses or just life in general. You know, we had some people that really came out and said they're struggling with suicide. You know, like if a life is being spared because they found a family, like friendships that created a family atmosphere, that gave them a reason, like they're not alone. You know, I just came across a story. I've seen again, a guy that jumped off of the bridge in San Francisco, you know, and God spared him But when he jumped, he just was looking for one person on this bus to tell him that it's going to be okay.
Right.
That, how are you doing? And if one person would have stopped him, but thankfully he didn't die. It was a miracle. He didn't die. He survived the fall, but the impact would have killed him instantly. But that's a lot of the stories of people that commit suicide or they go into drugs. If someone just would have stopped and cared, if it could be a homeless person, whatever situation someone may find them in. That's why I love stopping for the one that took me around the world. So this is something like it's totally in my realm and field of being compassionate, helping, surrounding, being there, having an ear to reflect on what's going on in their life. And so that's, if I can inspire that in other people to be compassionate, and just being there, a good friend, life would be so much better. When we walk down the street and someone's happy and waves to you and said hi, that makes you fills your cup up better than someone that's being cold-shouldered and doesn't open the door for you. Anything like it's nice to be around people that actually really genuinely care, no matter if you're a close friend or not. They're being friendly, and so that's a culture that we need in this hour.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's so much easier too. Like I remember just, after I became a Christian, I was wanting to bring people to Jesus. I did. And it was just so awkward when you try to invite them to church, like unless you really knew them, like if you knew them and you were doing life, it's not, but like I would just sometimes invite like people I knew at the gym and it was just weird, but it's like so easy to invite somebody to be like, hey, we're going to go see a live band on Friday. I got a great group of friends. And it's just so organic the way you see people's lives change. It's like, I don't want to say it's effortless because you have to be a little bit intentional. You have to have your radar up, like kind of, keeping an eye out for people that are maybe hurting, somebody you got broken up with, or maybe they're struggling with some addiction. And you just be like, hey man. And I keep it so light. I'm not like, I'm like, hey, we're going to go, bowling on Friday. You should come out and hang out with us. I got a great group of friends. And then sometimes that's all they need. And they come out and I've seen people's whole lives change because they got invited to a social event or they volunteered for the first time and they felt, honestly, that was what happened to me is when I started volunteering through my church. I was like, I didn't even think of myself as a good person up until then. I thought I was kind of a bad person. But when I started volunteering, I felt something I'd never felt. And I was like, wow, this feels pretty good to be on the good guy's side. And I wanted more of it. And it just made me change. So I think that is such a key component for us is like when you get people volunteering, because I think that's even like my buddy, Rob Weiderman, he started, he came to some service events with City Fam and he probably had never volunteered a day in his life. He was a drug dealer, selling Percocets a year before. And now he starts volunteering and he just loved it. And I just think it's ingrained in us to give back. Like, it's in our DNA. And when you give people that opportunity, it's like you get that, whatever, all those chemicals they say when you volunteer, it's almost like drugs. I know I've felt high after volunteer events where I just feel like I'm high on life, So yeah, looks like we got people commenting. I'm just going to read a couple of them. Melissa Vance said, hey, Chris, it's good to see you both. Casey Tompkins said, no judgment and the acceptance is a game changer. And really, that's it. Like, guys, we're not faith-based, and we were very intentionally not faith-based because we believe that we want to let people belong, before they believe. And even if they never believe, like we want to let them belong because the moment that you start labeling things, this is a Christian group or the sober group or the abstinent group or any of that, then you're automatically excluding people. Right. So our goal is, hey, come do life with us. And whatever that thing is that maybe is preventing you from having the life that you want. If you hang out with us long enough, you won't want to do that thing. You're just using that to maybe numb some pain or to, mask the fact that you don't have community or you're not living up to your potential and you feel it. So we believe that if, community is the answer to a lot of society's ills, So, Carla May said, any Southwest Michigan groups? Not yet, Carla, but there can be. So drop me a private message if you want to learn more about our process. Guys, it's not as hard as you might think to do this. I remember when Cassandra, sorry, when you were first thinking about doing this, you're like, I think I could maybe get 10 people together. I mean, now you got 300 people in your group like that. So if you feel like a little, spark or a little like, something in your spirit jumping, reach out. We'd love to tell you how to do this. It's 100% free to get your group started. We give you everything that you need. So May Carter, she shared it with her single. So May Carter just launched her group in Roanoke. We got a group down in Elkin, North Carolina that just started. Redding, California. Liz Howe said, that's a great word, Chris. Separation and isolation is the enemy's biggest tools. For sure. Everybody's heard the term idle hands or the devil's workshop. And when you're bored and you're lonely, it's a recipe for disaster. Fabiana said, how can I start a city fam? Is that Fabiana in Brazil? So let's talk a little bit about the process. So you guys launched your group, and then what? Were you adding people to it? Were people just joining? How quickly did you organize your first social event after you started your group?
I mean, I was gonna say I can start. For us, it was Julie for the most part. She was connected with you. You and I had talked a little bit, but she's connected with you. She had the anticipation post. She did, she did the right steps to get there. And you kind of sucked me into it, which it wasn't hard to get me there, but, and here we are. So yeah, I mean, we kind of went through that right process. Julie did with the anticipation post, opening or starting the Facebook page, all the right, correct steps in the right order. And here we are, 263 people later.
There's a buzz going on in Oklahoma City, I'd imagine. Like people are, because that's, like when we did this in Houston, we launched a group. There were groups out there. There was groups, singles groups, and they're all the same. They're all like hookup groups for the most part. And then we come along and it's like, people notice it because it's so different,
But one thing I've noticed is at all these events, it don't matter what it is, you just have that overarching, spiritual feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
That supernatural feel to everything going on.
Yeah.
And, God's there the entire time. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what he wants, he wants us to become the best version of ourselves. He wants us to love each other and not use each other, so if we're doing that, even if it's not labeled, a Christian group, he's behind it because he's a loving father. And that's what he wants for, his children. So Christy Knutson, Mariquin, she's the girl that just launched her group in Redding, California. She said, I just had a gentleman asking me questions about the single fam / city fam group. He has a men's Christian singles group, but doesn't want to bring his guys to the group unless everyone is single. Has anyone else had to navigate this? I don't want to tell people they can't join us because they are with someone or because they are married. Am I being naive? Is that dangerous, putting singles and not singles doing life together? So what do y'all think? I have my opinions, but I'll let you answer first.
Yeah, I just encourage, there's one or two people that are married in the group and they just want to be part of like the social events. So I said, like if that's cool. I mean, it's majority for singles, but yeah, there could be a tendency to kind of keep out, like if there's a married guy coming in and hitting on the single ladies, I don't know, maybe have to ban them from the group because the intentions are not there to end loneliness. It just, it's wrong intentions there. So I think like we've talked how these other scenarios too, like we do have sometimes alcohol at our events, and some people may choose not to be a part of it because they're getting over addiction, and we want to support wherever they are. And so at the table, I always make it clear, drink responsibly, drink sober. We don't have any catastrophes happening, drinking and driving, something like that. So in every scenario of dynamics of your groups, just putting it out there, like here's some guidelines that's going to keep us on the path. And that makes sense. So if it's relationships or some of the social activities that we're doing, we want all a positive outcome.
Right. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that too. I mean, I think we have to be careful. I don't think we should isolate anybody from the group. Who knows if we don't have that married couple that comes in that may have that, that that marriage there everyone strives to have. You know, also their mentors to, you know, somebody newly dating or something. So it's a fine line. You know, it is kind of geared towards more of the single people, yes, but I don't think we should. I don't want to keep anybody out that needs to hear about Jesus. And, you know, but like she said, you know, if it is, you know, a single guy coming in and start hitting on, you know, the women, yeah, that's probably not going to work. And,
Right.
or vice versa. If it's a single woman coming in, now there's not a lot of men, but it's, you know, it's, those types of things are probably one off. They probably don't happen that often.
Yeah.
But, you know, if it's there, then we'll take care of it and move on.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not just for single people, but like Chris said, the singles are going to be the ones to build the chapters, because when I created, you know, the group in Baltimore, half of it was for me. Half of it was because I wanted to reach my friends, but half of it was just because I was trying to overcome my own boredom and loneliness. So I went out and I organized the events and I worked the check-in table and I did all the things, sent the email and created the Facebook event. I did all the work. When you're a couple, when you're in a relationship, you don't need community like a single person does, because you have someone. Now, look, I think you should have community, because healthy community is going to keep that relationship. Could very well keep that relationship together, you know, because of all the relationships that you build up around it. But it's different because you still, on Friday night at the end of the week, you still got somebody that you can go to dinner with or watch a movie with, or, you know, lay on the couch and do nothing with. But it's still something when you're in a relationship. But when you're single, and you literally have nothing to do and you're sitting at home by yourself, you're like that. So the need is greater. And that's why the singles are the ones that have really reached out and done the work. Now, we have a lot of couples in Baltimore that are part of the group and find a lot of value from their involvement, but they're not out there. The ones, in all honesty, they're not working the check-in table. They're not on leadership. They come to the events and they sometimes bring friends, but they're not actually doing the work to put the events on. Because again, the single people, they do it a lot of times for themselves, you know? So that's why we started out a single fam, even though it's not all singles. Are there couples in your groups? Are people in relationships? I'd imagine there's people in relationships in both of your groups, right?
As far as I know, they're all single. So.
Really? Okay.
Same thing here, as far as I know.
Okay. I think about people like Leor. So you met Leor and Amy, probably Cassandra, on New Year's Eve. So like he's, you know, they're in a relationship. They come to lots of events. Micah and Christine come to tons of events. I've always personally thought to myself, like, when I get into a relationship, I don't want to drop all my friends. I hate when people do that, when they get into a relationship and then they just ghost everybody. It's like, yeah. I want to be involved, you know, very involved with City Fam. I mean, I think I will be anyway, but after I get into a relationship, I want to be involved. I want to still go out and hang out with my friends and, you know, get the value out of the group. So
yeah, it's such a valuable aspect. And I just want to like affirm that, because I was in a marriage and it felt very isolated to like building outside relationships. So having that dynamic of healthy relationships absolutely does. And it should be like singles should learn from healthy people that have a great relationships, like something they can look forward to and they can learn from that experience. So I think it's needed to have relationships that are healthy and both, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I was reading an article about it a while back, and they talked about how community will keep a marriage together, you know, versus you trying to rely on everything, one person to get your cup filled for everything. Versus, you know, a lot of times people stay in relationships because they have so many connections through that person, their church and their you know, their friends, their kids' friends and all that. And they just, you know, that's a whole network that they would lose if they left that relationship. So it'll literally keep a marriage together.
Yeah. Well, and also this is a whole other topic, but there's such a nugget here for even for the singles are listening to this. Not one person ever is going to meet all your relationship needs. And so having guy friends or girlfriends, you know, whatever you may have in a healthy dimension is going to help you reflect if there, you know, positive conversations, things to reflect on, you know, business relationships and other interests that still keeps that marriage relationship healthy. But yeah, it's just, you should have a wide range of friendships that meet certain needs. And thinking one person can meet all your needs is a recipe for disaster, that's for sure.
Good stuff. So Fabiana asked, how can I start? With a Facebook page? ? So yes, that is how you start. Actually, if you're interested in starting a group, drop the comment reach. And what I'll do is I'll personally reach out to you and I'll give you some next steps. But that is what we do. We start you out with a Facebook group. It's called Single Fam, whatever your town is, Single Fam Sao Paulo, for you, Fabiana. And then, you add some people to it. You do an event, do a social event, maybe do a service event. And then at some point, we're going to give you a small group curriculum and encourage you to do a small group. And that's really where you're going to get into some deeper conversations with people in your group about things of substance. And you're probably going to find your leadership team through that small group. And then at that point, we give you the option to become a City Fam chapter. And the vision really is, we want to have these things everywhere. There needs to be a City Fam everywhere there's people. Like everybody needs to have access to a community, because nobody should have to do life alone. Nobody should have to try to walk the narrow path and not have a group of people that they can relate to just to live out their good decisions. I know for me, I've told the story plenty of times, but I'll just say it again. When I decided to, become the best version of myself, let's just say that, I couldn't find a group of people that I related to. Like, the church people were nice, but they weren't doing anything. And even if they were, I don't know that I would have hung out with them, because I just felt like I was so different than them. And I feel like, I don't know what, I really can't say exactly what it is that, because City Fam, you got a lot of different kind of people, and for whatever reason, it just works. And I guess it's the Holy Spirit, because I can't figure that one out.
Yeah, definitely. Even I prayed about those groups, God, you have to do this, because I can't do it by myself. And so God connected with Angie, and she was just a pioneer of inviting people and rallying up and pushing me to do the things that needed to get done to pull the group together. And so in starting a group, just if you're faith-based, just believe our helper, Holy Spirit, is going to help us to do something great and have a great impact. And I love this word that you're using, Rob, being a movement maker. And I've been in training, literally I paid thousands of dollars to become a movement maker, in business and have impact and income. And so it's just interesting and I saw that you said, become a movement maker, more or less. I'm like, man, this is something I've been training for. And so just upping my skill and having that relationship, man. Like, I've traveled the world, but sometimes you have seasonal friends, but to have long-term friends. Some people don't feel like, they have friends that they can count on, call and be there for them. And we had people actually from our small group, shared that their grandmother passed away, and they had a support group to say, hey, I'm praying for you, or I'm there for you, sympathy and empathy, and just know that people cared about their situation. It felt like family. It felt like I have a support group.
I love it.
No matter what you're going through.
Yeah. I was just thinking about when I was in Lancaster for Christmas Eve, and it was amazing. It was the highlight of my week. But even if I come to Oklahoma City, I know that from the moment I get there, it's going to be like instant family. It's like, I've never even met you guys, and it's going to be like, you know what I mean?
100%.
And that's always been the dream, is like, oh my gosh, it's the first Friday. Like, if maybe you're on vacation, you go to New York City and you're like, hey, it's the first Friday. Let's find out where the Renegade is. And you walk into a place and automatically you got a group, you got a family right there. Mm-hmm. And that's always been the dream. So
that's what happened in Baltimore. Like, people came from Portland, Oregon and California, never met us in person, but just because they've been part of City Fam, or they booked their tickets and wait months previously just to be a part of the Charm City Countdown New Year's Eve events. And it was just so cool to see that interest. And we had instant friendships. Now we have no more people, we expanded our friendship and connection networks by meeting up. And so that's pretty cool, because again, your destiny can be one way of connecting another person. So God loves to connect people to really fulfill purpose in our lives. And So that network of connections is powerful.
I think what God is going to do through this, and we talk a lot about God, obviously, it's like you can't not, but it's like we're like a thermostat. He's going to use us to change the temperature of cities, because like even at Charm City Countdown, like honestly, for the most part, everybody in City Fams really, they're making good decisions for their long term, becoming the best versions of themselves. But at the same time, we probably had more fun than anybody else at the party. If you look at when we were in karaoke, people were like coming in, they're like, what's going on? We just had like all, the energy between the group. And it's like that synergy when you get all the parts, they say I forget the definition of synergy, but it's basically like something that's greater than the sum of all the parts. But it's like when we come together, it's just this energy. I don't even know how to describe it, but people are drawn to it. How I became a nightclub promoter was I was a stripper, and I would go out to clubs with my stripper friends when we got off work, and we just loved each other. We loved being around. There was like, we were just like really loved each other. We like, even guys, we kiss each other just on the lips, not gay, and we were on drugs too. So there's probably, ecstasy makes you feel like you love people, but people were drawn to the unity and they wanted to hang out with us. And so then wherever we were going, we kind of like a crowd started moving with us. Now the dysfunction of the group, because we were, people were sleeping with each other and on drugs, the group fell apart, and a lot of those people don't even talk to each other anymore. But I saw the way that people were attracted to the unity and the love. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like, like even if you go back to what Jesus said, he said that people will know you by your love for each other. And I feel like that's part of the secret sauce of City Fam is being unified, and having that love for each other.
Yeah. When you really carry that, just being real authentic and be yourself. And even like on New Year's Eve, man, the jump song came on. I was jumping a little bit. I think I slipped on some water was on the floor. I sprained my ankle. I had a little too much drink myself. So, I typically don't do that. But I wasn't drinking the water. So no one was there. I needed someone to tell me to drink water. So I had like 4 drinks. Anyway, I'm not trying to like drink. Anyway, it just hit me. But even if we do mess up or we make a mistake, we're not there to judge each other, but to say, hey, get back up. We're going to learn from this experience and do it better. And that's what I hear from a lot of people, like, hey, last year was really bad for me. This year is really good. And so like next year should be better for me. And I'm a bit of a daredevil. So I always try to test my limits. And so, but that's part of life.
You were off the chain on New Year's. She was all over the place. She was dancing all night. That's funny. Throwing Angie around.
Man, I wish I'd have been there now.
We had so much fun, my goodness.
It's funny. I was going to say this real quick. We keep talking about unity and all this stuff within the groups and how people feel. But man, I really feel like it trickles down from the top, from Rob to even our phone calls, like on our Thursday nights. It didn't take long to feel at home. Or that you were a part of something bigger, then it just kind of rolls downhill into the groups just because of the vibe from the very top, and for all those people out there thinking about starting a group, pray about it. Cause promise you, we're all praying about it for you too. And we're praying for you. And if you're nervous, we're all here for you, and you can reach out with questions and whatever you got, because this is a movement. And like Rob said, and Cassandra said a couple of times, it's a movement, and it's something else when you're in the middle of it, and just that feeling and that vibe and that supernatural thing going on.
Yeah. So if y'all don't know, I've talked about home a lot on previous streams, but maybe you've never saw those. Kind of the vision is we want to have chapters everywhere. We really believe that when this thing is fully fleshed out, there's going to be, we're going to have our Renegades. Our Renegade is our first Friday of the month social event. And we're going to have our Sold Out Saturday, which is our service event once a month. But then throughout the month, our members are going to be organizing whatever they want to do, whatever social events they want to do. And they can, so we're going to kind of crowdsource the solution to loneliness. That's what we believe. We're going to empower people to create their own social and service events, encourage them to pull people into those environments that may be lonely, looking for friends. But then, they're going to have their own small groups, because like you can't build intimacy in large groups, right? Intimacy is, you find intimacy in small groups. So like when we started Baltimore, we had this great group of people that were doing life together. And when the group grew, I noticed that it felt different. It wasn't as good. We lost intimacy. And then what happened was we inadvertently kind of broke out back over Billy's house in between the social events. We just started doing like our own little events. And that's when I really realized that's where the real life change happens, is when you're in a small group, right? And you're in people's houses and you're really able to share deeply what's going on in your life. So the way I think it's going to, when it's fully fleshed out, is we're going to have multiple small groups in cities. So you might have 20 small people meeting. And this way you got, this group's mostly single moms, and this one's senior citizens, and this one's young, couples. And so you have all these different groups with all the different DNAs, but they all come together once a month at the Renegade, and they all come together for the service event. And then what we use those events for, honestly, is to introduce the new people to which small group would be right for them. We ask them a couple questions. Hey, where do you live? Are you married or single? How old are you? Do you have kids? And based off their answers, we kind of try to pair them with a smaller group that they would be right for. And then eventually we have maybe hundreds of small groups in a city, but still coming together for those big events. That's what we see that's at least what I see when I look into the future of CityFam, because how are we going to solve loneliness? Like the only way to do it is we'd have to have a lot of groups, a lot of small groups where people could get real with each other and get into, friendships and relationships with people that they could actually relate to, because everybody's got a type of person. So I want to be around people that fill my cup. Not everybody fills my cup, but I want to be around people that fill my cup, and different people fill different people's cups. So even like somebody that you might consider weird, they got people too, though. Weird people like weird people, right? So that we have to help everybody find their people. And then together we're still CityFam, does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. And just being like a trusted partner to all the churches and, recovery centers and all that, because when people get out of like recovery, a lot of times they just go back to their neighborhood that they used to use in, and they hang out with the same people, and then they fall right back into it. So imagine people get out of recovery and they're like, oh yeah, they send them to CityFam and they got a whole instant group of friends, and we can do life with them and walk with them and help them. Because I really believe that like the opioid epidemic, a lot of that is because people are lonely and they're bored. So they use, versus imagine if they were to come hang out with us, they'd be like, wow, you guys are cool. You have fun, So that's what I see when I look into the future.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, you summed it up really well. Like just people, coming alive, like in relationships, that's that thing that we're created to be in family. God loves family. And so when we're isolated, especially with this pandemic, this is such a birthing, I think that's why it's such rapid growth, because of the pandemic, people feeling isolated, and suicide was skyrocketed because of isolation. So really solving a problem with creating atmospheres where we don't feel isolated and feel connected and in community.
It's good. And community is one of those things that if you never had it, you don't know it until you don't know what you were missing until you get it. Like, cause I didn't have real community for the first, I'd say 10 years that I was a Christian. And then I had it and I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Like, this is really, it made the walk so much easier. So, let's read a couple comments. Dale Howard is here. How you doing, Dale? We have a bunch of people that dropped the word reach in. Rena did, Fabiana, Brandy Young. I'll reach out to you and I'll give you more information. May Carter, I think I mentioned her. She was at New Year's Eve. Alicia said we should do a salsa dancing night. So we tried to salsa dance on New Year's. Me and Cassandra, actually.
It was a lot of fun.
I was not good.
Yeah, try something first for the first time. It's good.
Heather Abrahamo Wargo says, I'm trying to find my place. I have severely autistic daughters and don't have any support. haven't even been to church in many years because they don't have childcare that can care for them. I feel like me and my family have fell through the cracks. What area are you in, Heather? Maybe we can connect you. Bob Ernest is watching. What's up, Bob? Weird people like weird people. Heather's making fun of me. She said, my dance family has changed my life. Alicia Sullivan, I'm ready for this. Let's go. Okay. Drop the word reach if you're serious, Alicia. So let me see if I have any other questions here that I want to ask. Okay. So yeah, I guess if you want to join Chris's or Cassandra's Facebook groups, if you're in the Lancaster, I never know how to say that, the Lancaster area or Oklahoma City, you can just go to facebook.com/groups and then single fam Lancaster or single fam OKC, I think it is. And you can find their groups there. If you know people in those areas, add them to the group or send them the link and tell them about City Fam. Like Chris and Cassandra said, this is a movement, and you could basically get in on the ground floor of what I believe is going to be something really special that God is going to do through all this. So we would love to tell you more about it. Do you guys have any closing thoughts or comments?
For me, I mean, it's just, thanks for everything that you've done to get this started, and kind of being that, I don't want to call you a role model yet, but, kind of being that, the guy that listened to God's vision and followed through. And because of that, we're all here. Appreciate Cassandra that. And I and Angie and Julie, we're all here because of that.
Appreciate it. Thank you. This is all his idea. This is not my idea. None of it. I mean, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And you shared that City Fam was a God idea, giving that, buying cityfam.com, just starting with an idea that, and greatness happens when we just be inspired by the Holy Spirit. And so that's why we love being connected with God. And if you're listening to this, just God loves us. He loves to be a part of our lives. And that's the coolest thing, that we can inspire greatness. So we love it, and we just encourage it. It's not a bad thing at all.
Right. Awesome. Well, I appreciate y'all coming on. I'm really excited to see what's going on in both your cities, and I'm just excited to do life with you guys. And I'm, looking forward to a long friendship with you both, and getting to meet in person, and hopefully go to each other's weddings one day. And who knows where all this goes, right? But me and Chris were talking about it earlier. We're like, we know that there's eventually going to be a lot of City Fam weddings. I'm sure people are going to meet. This is a great place to meet people, because at least the people are on the path, right? They're wanting to become a better version of themselves. You guys are already headed in the right, same direction together. So that's it. Again, if you want to reach out, if you want to know more about how to start a group, just drop the word reach in the comments. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We have a goals retreat coming up for City Fam. So every year we do, we basically a Friday night and a Saturday day, we take the time to get together and we plan out our year. And for me, honestly, the vision has been a game changer, because once I had a destination of knowing exactly what I wanted to do with my life, it became easier to make the right decisions, because, that the word says without vision, people perish, but there's another version that says without vision, people cast off restraint. So if you think about it, if you don't have a vision, you're like, well, why not stay up and get drunk? Or why not get up at 10 o'clock in the morning? But when you have a vision, you're like, I got to get there. Right. And it keeps you, you make certain decisions, because you start reverse engineering how to get to that place. But most people, actually only 3% of the population, stops and gives thoughtful contemplation to their future and plans accordingly. We want to be in that 3%. So we're going to plan out our year. We're going to help everybody figure out what is it that you want most. Really powerful exercises that life coaches, certified life coach is going to take us through, Cami Brechtel. And we're going to map out our year, and then we're going to plan for how to accomplish it. This is how I did all the big things that I was able to do with the group and the book. It was all about really drilling down on what I wanted, and then reverse engineering the plan to get there, and staying hyper focused on it. So we want to help you with that. And you can actually go to our Facebook page, the City Fam Facebook page, and it's called the Rise Goals Retreat. If you want the link, actually just drop the comment Rise, and I'll go back through the comments and I'll send a link to everybody that drops that. It's $99 or it's $199. It's $99 for an individual, or it's $199. You can have as many people to a single location to share that. So, what we're going to do here in Baltimore is we might have 10 people come to the City Fam office, and we'll all just pay $20 each. So that's the way it works. So I hope to see you guys there. I really highly encourage you to attend it. It's good stuff. What else? Anything else coming up? Anything I missed that y'all can think of?
No, start a group, guys. Start a group. Start a single fam.
Yeah.
So encourage that.
Cool.
Good. Now I want to say one more thing too. I mean, all the people that have been on this live the entire time, it's no mistake that you're here. God had you here for whatever reason it is, whether it's just learn about a group in your city or to start a group. And, like Cassandra just said, start it. Pray about it, start it, and let's roll.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, that's so important, because if you think about, like we say, in the part of the world that you're responsible for, because we are, right? We're responsible for where we live. God put you there. And what are you doing to make it better? Because this is a really powerful way for you to affect positive change in not only your life, but the lives of all the people around you and in your city. We've given out, just in Baltimore, tens of thousands of volunteer hours back to like causes in our communities, and seen lots of people's lives change. And like, I mean, the way I look at it, I remember when I was backslidden, my uncle, they call him the Bible man or whatever. He goes to the flea markets and he gets all the used Bibles, and he's been shipping them over like to Africa for years. He's been doing this. And I remember when I was backslidden, I'm thinking he's going to have so much treasure for himself in heaven when he gets there, because of all the good stuff that he's done. And I'm like, I remember thinking that to myself, because I wasn't doing much of anything good at the time. And now it's like, this is a way for you to stack some treasure. We're going to give you the system for you to stack some treasure for later, because this thing works. So that's it. Love you guys.
Love you, brother.
Oh, thank you.
All right. We'll
Thanks
talk
for
to y'all
having us.
later. See you on the next